Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Joanna Butler. 2026 marks 125 years of dedicated service by the Australian Army and its predecessors. Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Wallace Benjamin Giffin. We warmly welcome his family who are in attendance today. Private Giffin's story will be told shortly by Corporal Marcus Giffin from the Royal Australian Air Force, who is a member of Private Wallace Benjamin Giffin's family. This evening, we warmly welcome the delegation visiting from Lara RSL sub-branch in Victoria. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. With golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is got by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Those who are able to do so, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where family and friends could mourn loved ones, buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Wallace Benjamin Giffin. Wallace Giffin was born in early 1897 in Manildra, a small town between Parkes and Orange in New South Wales, Central West. He was the 11th and youngest child of John and Isabella Giffin. Known as Wal, he attended Parkes Public School and later worked as a labourer, mainly cutting chaff for his elder brother Charles. Prior to the outbreak of the war, Wal was living at the family home in Parkes. With the consent of his parents, Giffin enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 2nd of March 1916 in Parkes. After spending a month with the Depot Battalion in Bathurst, on the 26th of April 1916, he was allotted to the 4th Reinforcements for the 53rd Australian Infantry Battalion. Wal Giffin and his fellow reinforcements then travelled to Sydney, where on the 11th of July 1916, they embarked aboard the troop ship Vestalia. After an 8-week sea journey, they arrived in the United Kingdom on the 9th of September. Following 4 weeks of treatment for venereal disease in hospital, Wal then joined the 14th Training Battalion at Codford on the Salisbury Plain. Private Wal Giffin arrived in France on the 6th of December 1916. This was one of the coldest, wettest and most miserable winters on record. Giffin joined the 53rd Battalion on the Somme front on the 23rd of December and was assigned to B Company. But before long, in such dreadful conditions, he developed a fever, which turned out to be influenza. Then bronchitis set in. Still unwell after weeks in hospital in France, in March 1917, he was sent to recover in England. He remained there until June. After a slow recovery, Wal was fit again by late August and returned to the Western Front, rejoining his battalion on the 1st of September. At this time, they were in Belgian Flanders, preparing for a big attack between Ypres and Passchendaele. The 53rd would lead the attack on Polygon Wood on the morning of the 26th of September. But on the night before, heavy enemy shelling disrupted preparations and Wal Giffin was wounded by poison gas. He was evacuated for medical care. Following another long recovery, Giffin rejoined his unit briefly in January, but the next month he was back in hospital, sick once again. He returned to duty fit on the 17th of March 1918 and was reassigned to C Company. The Great German Offensive in France was launched just days later, on March 21st. British and French armies were driven back, but just managed to hold on. The Australians found themselves once again on the Somme, helping to halt the German advance. Then, on the 8th of August 1918, an Allied counter-offensive drove German forces back in headlong retreat. Fierce fighting continued during the remainder of August as the Australians pursued the retreating enemy. The Germans made a stand where a great bend in the Somme River created a natural barrier behind which stood near impregnable defences at Mont Saint-Quentin and the fortified town of Péronne. On the last day of August, troops of the 2nd Australian Division gained a tenuous hold on the Mont. Early the next morning in the cold drizzling rain, 5th Division, including the 53rd Battalion, crossed the river and drove southwards to take Péronne. 2 battalions led, the 54th on the right and the 53rd on the left. The 53rd fought their way through, cutting through barbed wire, obstacles and driving enemy troops from their positions. They reached Anvil Wood and the cemetery at its edge. The battalion now emerged upon a wide stretch of open ground, sloping down to the moat and the ramparts of Péronne. But heavy enemy fire from multiple directions pinned them down. The 53rd advanced again at 5 p.m. They gained their objectives, but German machine guns on the ramparts of Péronne again took a heavy toll. In 3 days of fighting for Mont Saint-Quentin and Péronne, the 53rd Battalion suffered 252 casualties, the highest of any Australian unit present. During the final attack, Wal Giffin was hit in the arm and took cover in a shell hole near the railway line. Stretcher bearer Private Charles Kingdom bound up the wound, and told him to stay put. But for some reason, Giffin did not heed the advice and broke cover. Almost immediately, a burst of machine gun fire killed him outright. Giffin's remains were buried in the Perron Communal Cemetery Extension. He was 21 years old. A comrade from his hometown of Parkes, Private Michael O'Malley, wrote to Giffin's parents, "I was close to Wal when he was killed, and indeed you have lost a very brave and noble son, a man who was well liked and respected by all who knew him. He is buried just outside of Perron. I went back yesterday and attended to his grave, and at any time in the future that I get a chance, I will attend to it. It may be a comfort to you to know that his life and those of our other comrades were avenged. He died without suffering, and I'm sure that God will have mercy on a man who led such a clean life and died for his country." Giffin's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Wallace Benjamin Giffin, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over, but in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff, and volunteers, thank you for joining us today at the Australian War Memorial. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.